Hey guys, how are you? Glad to have everybody joining today. We've got two great guests on to talk about some new and exciting stuff that everybody in this call is collaborating on. So first, I will introduce Colton from Prime. Colton, do you mind giving a quick intro to the folks?
Hey everybody, I'm Colton. I'm the founder of Prime Protocol. We're a recently launched DeFi protocol on a bunch of chains, including Moonbeam. We're a cross-chain lending protocol. We allow you to basically deposit your assets on any chain we support, and then you can borrow seamlessly on another one without having to send them over a token bridge. Everything is cross-margin, so it's like a one-stop shop for all of your borrowing needs. And we use Moonbeam as our hub chain, which means all of the transactions that you submit through Prime are using Moonbeam in the backends to do all the accounting and computation for you.
Beauty. Thanks, Colton. And we'll dig more into that. And I have some new insights that I've been kind of noodling on that I think I'd love to get your feedback on. Forrest, let's bring you into the fold. Do you mind giving an intro of who you are, what you do?
Yeah, hey, I'm Forrest Whaling. I am on the Chainlink Labs product marketing team. I've been here since 2020. Been working professionally in crypto really since the ICO boom. I used to be the head of marketing for IDEX, pre-Uniswap decentralized exchange. But yeah, like I said, I joined Chainlink in 2020, and just helping build that.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. No, I appreciate you kind of hopping on today. So, first off, I'll go back to Colton quickly. In terms of what chains, I think you guys announced another one this week, right, Colton? What chains you guys currently on?
So right now we're on Ethereum, Moonbeam, Avalanche, Arbitrum, and this week we launched BNB Chain.
Sweet.
So up to 5 chains now, and we'll probably be adding some more pretty soon here.
Sweet, sweet. And you kind of you started touching on the architecture, but I think that for the audience, it's like I'm realizing it's you guys are like fundamentally different than that I think pretty much every other team out there in crypto right now. I think others are looking at it, but you guys were kind of the first to market. And again, I don't take it all as gospel, but at least to my knowledge, you guys were kind of first to market with this hub and spoke architecture. Can you give kind of just like a granular example of like how a user, say they're on Avax, they show up, they want to start engaging with you guys. Like, what does that actually look like on the back end? What are they able to do, and how is it different than other solutions in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so if a user only wants to use AVAX, they don't care about any other of the chains on the platform, that's totally fine. And they can pay everything in AVAX gas and only interact with those contracts. The way that it works behind the scenes is when you, let's say, do a deposit on Avalanche, let's say you deposit some USDC, there's going to be a message that's sent from Avalanche to Moonbeam, basically recording the value of that deposit and your account and giving you credit for it. And that means that let's say you want to take out a borrow, you can take out a borrow from any of our supported chains, and there's going to be a message that goes from the chain you requested that borrow over to Moonbeam. It'll check your account value, aggregate up all of your deposits and your borrows together, see if you're good for it, and then it'll send a fallback message to the chain where you wanted the tokens to be distributed. So let's say you just deposited on Avalanche and then you wanted to borrow on Avalanche. When you submit that borrow transaction, there will be a message from Avalanche to Moonbeam back to Avalanche, and then you'll receive your tokens. But this makes it really flexible so that if you started on Avalanche and you wanted to then go borrow on BNB chain, you can make that deposit on Avalanche, switch your wallet over to BNB chain, make a borrow request there, and then the tokens will pop out on BNB chain. You didn't have to bridge anything over, and you have access to liquidity against your Avalanche portfolio.
Got it. No, I appreciate you taking folks kind of through that. Sometimes it's like the nuance of like how that's different sometimes gets lost, and I know you guys are doing a really good job on the marketing front on just trying to describe how this is different, but it is really cool in terms of the way that I almost talk about it when teams ask about connected contracts and Prime is kind of like be on any chain you want without necessarily having to like know what chain you're on, kind of thing. And so I think that's I tend to believe that's how applications are going to get built, kind of moving forward from a multi-chain perspective. It's just focusing on like the user journey is going to be just huge. And so, Forrest, how does kind of Chainlink play into this kind of multi-chain application, and how do you guys kind of look at supporting all these ecosystems?
Well, Chainlink has always been blockchain agnostic, and we offer a variety of services across over, a dozen leading blockchains. And we're continuing to build out our multi-chain support and functionality via Chainlink CCIP, or our cross-chain interoperability protocol, which is a universal cross-chain messaging protocol. It's currently being tested with several exciting test partners across a wide variety of use cases. Um, but yeah, if you want to learn more about that, you can read our latest product updates or our social media accounts to see where we're at with that.
Gotcha. Cool. And like, what's give me a view for Chainlink 5, 10, 20 years out. What do you guys kind of, you guys have obviously like, you've been around longer than both Prime and Moonbeam. You guys are some of the OGs in the space, I'd say. And so where do you kind of see things going over the next, the next future here?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, our main goal is, at Chainlink is to solve the various issues with trust, transparency, conflicts of interest, reliability, etc. with, across a wide variety of industries. And we do this through our decentralized Oracle network and suite of tools that are enabling developers to create like Web3 analogs of these current systems. This is financial services, gaming, real world assets, insurance markets, you name it. I think in 10 to 20 years, we envision a future where our network tools are integrated within these everyday services, which we believe will all be built on blockchain technology. And we'll be there to ensure the data they provide is accurate and tamper proof, that the games that you're playing or digital experiences you love are fair, and that the funds in your account are actually backed by real world assets. And I think we've made a lot of great strides since we launched in 2019, and we don't plan on stopping until we reach this goal.
Cool. No, that sounds great. And Colton, obviously, like the way that you guys built Prime, you were kind of the first team that we met. I don't know, it was like a year and a half ago. That kind of described this GMP architecture. I guess in your estimation, like why build it like that, right? It took you probably a lot longer to build it than kind of just picking a chain, building, and then doing kind of a copy paste across and figuring out how to connect them. Like, why take the time to kind of design this new architecture and go down that route?
Well, it really would have been impossible to make this in a secure and also cost-effective way by just doing the copy and paste and connect after the fact methodology. And the reason for that is if you take like a compound or an Aave fork and you put it on two different chains, there's a lot of logic in there that was built specifically with the intention of a single chain application. And part of the complexity with a multi-chain application is your transactions have to happen across multiple blocks on different chains. Because if I do something on chain A and then I want something to happen on chain B, I need that transaction on chain A to reach finality so that I don't go ahead and do something on chain B without having the collateral locked up. And so existing protocol architectures really were not built in order to be able to handle that kind of thing. And you also open up yourself to a lot of different vulnerabilities if you're trying to sort of do transactions and then sync them up after the fact, or uh, if you're trying to communicate a change in state to every chain in the network, you open yourself up to a lot of different kinds of spoofing attacks, and you're also increasing the cost and latency dramatically for the user with each chain that you add. And so by going with this new architecture that hadn't been done before, we were basically able to ensure that all transactions in the protocol are queued up in one place. They're all processed sequentially, so there's no opportunity for somebody to spoof the network or try and withdraw in two places at once and get too much money out. Um, so there's a lot of reasons for the architecture and why we ended up deciding to do it this way, and it definitely took us longer to build as a result because we were doing something new. We built it from scratch, and there was no existing primitive that we could copy. But I think that ultimately will just make the protocol more valuable in the long term. And I wanted to build something new and innovative, so that's why we went with that approach.
Gotcha, gotcha. Forrest, do you mind if I just pick your brain on some of the trends that you're kind of seeing out there in the space? Crypto, non-crypto, kind of where Chainlink's looking. Obviously, nothing that you can't talk about, but in terms of just like what you're looking at in the space that's interesting you to Chainlink these days.
Well, I mean, Chainlink offers such a wide variety of services. We are keeping our fingers on the pulse of every trend. Personally, I'm very excited about gaming and how Chainlink can be helpful there through services like VRF. Another trend, we just launched Chainlink Functions, um, which allows for really clever use cases for calling off-chain APIs, and we're just seeing a lot of new exciting use cases there. But I think overall, Chainlink has a role to play in all of this and making sure that all of this can be done reliably and securely.
Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. No, that sounds great. In terms of, Colton, I don't know if you had any questions for Forrest. You could feel free to. I don't. I try and curate the conversation. I don't want to be. I don't want to put myself as the pure focal point. So, Colton, if you have anything that you wanted to kind of lob over to Forrest, feel free to jump in here.
Sure. I guess one thing I'm curious about on Chainlink's end, we're obviously at Prime very bullish on a multi-chain future, but everybody has their own opinion on how that's going to evolve and how that's going to change crypto. Does Chainlink have a thesis on like either use cases for multi-chain applications or how cross-chain messaging is going to change the space? Obviously, Chainlink has made a huge investment in the cross-chain messaging sphere with CCIP. So I'm just curious how you guys see that being used. Obviously, we're looking at integrating that as well. So I guess any thoughts that you have on that would be really interesting to hear.
Well, yeah, so to be honest, I came mostly prepared to discuss how we are integrated with Prime currently via our price feeds. But I think, in general, we very much believe in a multi-chain future, and our cross-chain interoperability protocol speaks to that. And you know, um, we have many exciting test partners that we're um, testing it out with. And again, I'd like to reference you to our social media or uh, product updates to get a view of how we're approaching that.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, it makes sense. And I mean, you guys have some really cool programs around the scale program and everything you're working on that I think Colton and I are pretty plugged into. So we make sure to stay pretty close with the Chainlink team. We're doing a bunch on that front.
But yeah,
Colton, any new assets looking to get listed? Anything what's next on kind of the Prime rollout?
Yeah, we have some new assets that we're thinking of adding soon. Because we use Chainlink price feeds, new assets get added as new Chainlink feeds get added to Moonbeam. And there are a couple that I know the team is working on right now to get launched. And so as soon as those are live, it'll allow us to launch some more tokens on BNB chain and then also the next chains that we choose to launch to. the next chain that we launch is going to be a large L2. I'll let people guess as to which one that's going to be, but there are a lot of new tokens on that chain that'll be unlocked as well on Prime. So we're super excited for that launch to happen, and it's been great working with the Chainlink feed to stand up all of those feeds, so we can get live with those assets.
In terms of like how you manage stuff kind of cross chain with the feeds and then the GMP teams, like I have been, and I think I've like referred a couple teams to maybe chat with you, but if there are builders here that are kind of listening in on like the architecture, how you've kind of built it, how you thought about it, like are there things that teams should really like keep in mind or think about, or like maybe like hurdles you guys had to clear or things that you thought may work one way but you had to kind of re-architect? Always love to kind of give builders insight into how you guys worked through problems and maybe some gotchas to kind of look out for if they're looking to build in this kind of hub and spoke and connected contract architecture.
Yeah, I guess one thing, since we have Chainlink here, I guess it's relevant to talk about how we do pricing for our assets and price those liquidity calculations. Something that you need to be aware of if you're doing a bunch of cross-chain messaging, especially for an application where, like ours, where you have multiple different chains involved, a lot of different assets, and you might not be able to get real-time data from ETH if somebody submits a transaction on Avalanche. Is having as many of those price feeds on the hub chain that you're using as possible is really helpful. So all of the prices that we use right now are coming from Chainlink feeds that have been deployed to Moonbeam. And that means that all the prices that we use whenever there's a withdrawal, a borrow, a liquidation, all of those are current, and we can have really high confidence that those prices are going to be accurate as well. And by doing it that way, rather than like pulling a price from ETH, sending it over a message passer over to Moonbeam, and then processing it there, that can lead to issues with like stale prices, which, especially if you have to manage people's account health, you want that to be as current as possible, so you're not improperly liquidating anybody, and you're also not missing any opportunities to clear out bad debt.
Gotcha. Um, in terms of, did you guys have any questions that I could answer? Moonbeam, anything along those lines? I'm like I said, I know I think I'm the host, but at the same time, I'm happy to engage in any questions that you guys might have.
Yeah, sure. I know Moonbeam has a lot of things that they're working on to try and make the ecosystem more hospitable to apps like ours. Curious if you've seen a growth in people doing hub and spoke on Moonbeam, and what the initiatives that you guys have internally to try and attract more projects like this and grow the ecosystem are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a good question. I think that I mean, when we first met you kind of the idea around general message passing, like it wasn't even live, right? So Axelar, Wormhole, Layer Zero, obviously Chainlink with CCISP, none of these were live, and so it was all very theoretical. And so I think we were really into the idea, and we spent a bunch of time probably about a year ago on like documentation and write-ups and things like that, that I think we were maybe early on. And so I'm really interested now that you guys are live. We're actually starting to see like data around finality times on Moonbeam being better than a lot of places like Arbitrum or Polygon or ETH. And so I think we're starting to look at, and we'll probably tap Prime for like a case study on like why Moonbeam works for this kind of architecture. And so, but we are starting to have a lot of discussions with teams that whether they're coming from the grants program or whether they're getting referred to us, we are starting to kind of get this reputation for the place where, well, this Prime thing's interesting, like where's that built? And when you dig in, like you guys aren't out there. If you look at your website quickly, you don't necessarily you don't call yourself necessarily like a Moonbeam, they're like a Moonbeam maxi in any way, shape, or form. We wouldn't want you to be. What you do is you just focus on the user value of Prime, and so Moonbeam providing a great place for developers to build in that architecture is really the value that we've kind of provided. And so I think that we're starting to see teams are coming to us because when they learn about Prime and the architecture, they're like, well, cool, I want to explore that. How do I do this? And so I mean, it takes a while for developers to kind of change their mental model because for 2 years it was really kind of like a copy pasta across all these ecosystems. This is a very different way of building, and we've even had some teams who we've kind of pushed them on, okay, you're going to go multi-chain, how are you going to do it? And they're like, oh, we're just going to we're going to start here and then we're going to go here and we're going to like just copy and deploy. And when we push them on kind of this connected contract strategy, they're like, wow, that sounds really hard to build. It's like, well, shit, yeah, it is hard to build, but like if at least in our estimation, it's like it's a much better way to go to market and to kind of build for the long term. And so we are seeing more teams that are looking to understand this, build in this way. There are some grants that have been, I think, applied to teams who are building in this fashion. So I think probably in the next like 3 months, you'll see more teams start to talk about it, go to market. But like I said, it takes a long time for developers to kind of wrap their head around how this general message passing, technology can be utilized. And so I think we're still in like the first or second inning of kind of this kind of build or focus from a building perspective. So I'm becoming more and more bullish on it, especially now that you guys are live and we're seeing how it all kind of works. So kudos to you guys for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It definitely does take a larger upfront investment and more engineering resources to get it off the ground. But at least our hope is that it's going to help us build a competitive moat around having unique technology and functionality that will ultimately be able to set us apart. And as people start discovering the interesting strategies that it enables, which we're starting to promote on our Twitter and create some blog posts about, and more educational content around how does Prime actually allow you to do more with DeFi. We think that's going to drive a lot more adoption to these kinds of cross-chain strategies.
Cool. Well, usually we do about 30 minutes or so. I don't know if we booked longer, but if there were things that we didn't cover today, Forrest, there are things you wanted to bring up about specifically the price feeds on Prime, or Colton, if there are other things you wanted to highlight about Prime, I'm all ears here. But I think I've used up all the questions that I kind of prepped through. But happy to riff on anything or go down any route that you guys want to.
No, I mean, I think that's good.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, hey, look, I'm not.
Yeah.
I won't force any more or discussion if folks are good. So I appreciate both of you hopping on today, and I really appreciate the conversation. And both of you are great, great projects, great teams. Excited to see what you guys kind of come out with in the next couple months. But by all means, everyone joining here today should definitely give these guys a follow and stay tuned for updates from all three ecosystems.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hosting, Nate. And
Cool.
I would just encourage everybody on the call, if you haven't already, definitely follow us on Twitter, but also go check out the app. We're doing an early adopter program where we are tracking early usage of the protocol through our early adopter points. So it's a pretty unique opportunity to get in really early to something. And whether you're in Moonbeam or another ecosystem, I think there's a lot of amazing strategies that Prime enables. And so I'd also encourage everybody to go check out our blog to see how you can use Prime to really up your DeFi capabilities.
And same, I recommend everybody follow Chainlink's socials. I know everybody was looking for a little bit more alpha and CCIP, so that will be the best way to get it. So thank you again, Nate.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And yeah, absolutely. Everybody should go check out Prime, start playing around with it, check it out. It's super, super innovative. And I think it's going to be the way that multi-chain applications are built moving forward. And so those guys they're definitely blazing a trail. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining in today, and yeah, we'll talk again on the next one.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.
See you.